So once we finish the foot, we're going to turn around and we're going to reintroduce ourselves to just this part of the calf, the leg right through here. And what you're going to want to do as you do all of the work I'm going to show you is you want to stay off the back of the knee and you want to avoid these bones on the sides of the knee. So our first stroke is just an opening stroke, and we're going to come right up the Achilles, this tendon, and kind of compress our thumbs and split this calf muscle apart and kind of go to a compression using this area of our hand right through there, and then just drag back. And again, come right up that Achilles and kind of split that muscle apart and just kind of compress and drag back. And we're going to do a progressive pressure 3 times. And just come up and squish and drag back. Now we're going to go into C-shaped kneading, just like the shoulder, and we're going to have an inside, middle, and outside line. And we pretty much do that for any of the limb pieces that we learn, whether it's the calf, the thigh, the arm, or the forearm. We just have 3 lines, and when we follow those 3 lines, it makes sure we cover all of the musculature. So the first line, this inside line with C-shaped kneading, we're just going to go back and forth nice and easy on that inside line. And then here's that middle line up the Achilles, back and forth, and the outside line. This works really good for small calves or big calves. You just have to adjust the distance for your hands. That's once time through, second time through, middle line, a little deeper, a little more intention, and outside line. Last time through, inside line, a little more intention, inside line. Make sure you get that whole Achilles on that middle line right through there, and then the outside line. Now we're going to take those same 3 lines and we're going to use our fist to work on it. So make sure that when you use your fist, you keep this nice good line through here. I'm going to use this fist and kind of support the leg, and I'm going to come up through that inside, making sure I don't go over the back of the ear of those bones. And then I'm going to compress down the center of this calf. And this is a good heavy stroke, so make sure you pay attention to your client or the person on the table. And then I'm going to support on the inside, and I'm going to come up just behind that bone and compress. And I'm going to shift my hand. This is a small leg, and instead of having all of this plane to match it, I just have this line to match it that way. And come off before you hit that bone on the outside of the leg. That's once time through, middle, and outside. Kind of as a rule of thumb, when you're working on people, the deeper you go, the slower you go, but follow how the body lets you in. So there we are on that inside line, 3rd time through. Flatten, compress that middle line, and then last time through, just like that. Now you can end here with somebody who has a smaller calf. That's a lot of work, but if you have a larger calf or somebody wants more pressure, we're going to take this same concept and put it into a forearm stroke, and we're going to use just that edge of the forearm, and we're going to compress. And you can actually just go down this middle line a few times, or you can angle it off to the medial side or the lateral side, which is the inside line or the outside line. And just compress. As you get to the end of this stroke and you're right by the knee, you need to release your pressure and come off. Okay? Nice, good flattening stroke. I'm going to shift to this other forearm to get that inside. Come back to get the middle all the way just right before the back of the knee and outside. Once you finish with this deeper work, we're going to kind of close up this area. We're just going to come back to our warm-up stroke and do a few of those to let the body know that we're done here. And we're going to take this stroke and go right up into the back of the thigh and the hamstring. As we come up from the calf, we're going to go straight into a warm-up stroke for the thigh. And all we're going to do is just the same thing, but we're not really compressing through the middle. We're just saying hi, warming up the area, and I'm sticking to the edge of this line right here. So as I come up and come around, even if the drape is a little over my hand, I'm still just keeping my hands along that line that we drew with the drape. Okay, just like that. And we're going to head into C-shaped kneading. And this one we're going to go inside, but when we hit the edge of the drape, we're just going to come off. And then here's the middle line. Again, we hit the edge of the drape and come off, and the outer line. Spend some time here. This is a good place to work through. And just come around and off. That's once. Here we go again, up through that inside line, middle line, and off, and outside line. Last time through, and up. When we hit that line, come off, and outside line. Spend some time. Then we're going to shift over to our knuckles. And I'm going to come up, and when I hit that line, we're just going to come off. And you can really put a lot of body weight into this stroke. And compress, and off, and outside. Now, as you get deeper into this IT band, this outside of the leg, some people are tender, so pay attention to if they flinch or if it's too much pressure. But we're just going to come up through the outside line. This time we're going to go around the hip and off. Again, come up the inside line and follow that line of the drape. Flatten out, compress through that middle line, and come off, and outside line. And kind of go up around the bone and off. Last time through. Flatten out, compress through that middle line and outside line. And kind of come up and around the hip and off. You can do the same thing with your forearm here. You're going to shift back and forth. We're going to use the inside arm. Same thing. You can put a lot of body weight. Make sure you're not on the back of the knee, and flatten out. And I like to spend some time. If somebody wants some hamstring work, I can really just compress and get some change going on in that tissue. And you're going to take this all the way up to that line and off. And same thing with the outside. Bring it up. This is a lot of power, so make sure it's comfortable. And then you're going to take your elbow up and around. And you can do that 3 times. Inside, flatten. Remember, if the person wants a little more pressure, you just have to angle your elbow. You don't have to really push harder. And off, and come up through the outside. And go up and around that hip. All right, that's some really good work into those big muscles of the leg. We're going to take this and go right into some hip work. As we transition into the hip from all that work we just did, what you need to realize is this is not an area that you can knead very well. It's an area that you can compress really well. So a lot of the work we're going to do with the hip is going to be compression. A couple of bony landmarks. You actually have the edge of your sacrum right here and your tailbone towards here, and then it curves around into your hip bone, and then you have your femur that sticks out right here. So we have to make sure that we're kind of working through this area that looks about like that. And so as we go into warm up, all you can do is just take your palm or take your knuckles and just continue in those circular motions just to create some relaxation in those big muscles of the hip there. Okay? And I'm just holding the sheet so you can see what I'm doing. Just around and around. Around that hip, around that femur, all the way up to the sacrum and around. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're actually just going to take our fists and do some compression. This feels really, really good. And don't forget this area. This is a really important area. I always do compression right up to the edge of that bone, and then I kind of follow the bone around and just continue that compression. Now, since we have finished with the whole leg, we're going to do some closing strokes to let the leg know that we're done. So we're going to head into closing strokes where we're going to apply oil and come down the rest of the leg.